does it mean to recycle the right way?
So recycling the right way is using CompuCycle. Truly, when it comes to a recycling facility and handling electronics, CompuCycle is the gold standard and the leader in the industry in being able to process and to be able to truly recycle as well as process electronics responsibly, securely, as well as being the most sustainable and circular solution.
There are many certified electronics recycling companies, and people don't necessarily understand what recycling means. Recycling means I take your products and then your product could be sent somewhere else to actually be processed. Well, we are the processor. And what does processing means? It means we take those items that nobody can use and we shred those items into raw materials. And what are raw materials? We shred into the steel, we separate the copper, we separate the aluminum, we separate the plastics, we separate the boards. So we are destroying the equipment, we're destroying your data, and we're separating all those different components that are then remanufactured into other products. So processing and recycling actually go hand in hand, but there's less than 1% of certified electronics recycling companies are processors. And CompuCycle is the exclusive processor in Houston. So there's no other certified company in Houston that can process your electronics. And we're the only electronics processor in the United States that is washing and separating plastics that can then be manufactured into products. And this is an example of plastics. This is e-scrap plastics that's been made into a tile. So we are truly recycling and processing materials, and that is the key differentiator between us and all the other certified electronics recycling companies.
How does processing in-house increase your ability to be responsible with for the environment?
So we talk about chain of custody. Companies, corporations, when they're getting rid of their equipment, a lot of corporations don't really know what happens because the certified recycler will say, well, I'm certified, I'm going to give you these certificates, I'm going to give you these certificate of destruction, I'm going to give you all the paperwork that you need to ensure that the product's been done correctly. But they have no idea what happens to the products. They have the boxes are checked. Well, we do everything in-house. By CompuCycle, we are the downstream. We are not taking your products and shipping it to anybody else to be processed. So it comes into one of our 2 facilities, and we can refurbish product for reuse. We can harvest components for reuse. And then whatever we cannot reuse, CompuCycle is then shredding, and we're end of life. So it remains chain of custody from an environmental standpoint, from a sustainability standpoint, from a circularity standpoint. It's all done at CompuCycle by us, and that is why we are leading in the industry. We're proud of what we do, that we encourage corporations. When we bring in a new client, we are encouraging them. We almost mandating them to come and see our facility so they can understand what happens. We have all the credentials, and we want people to see and understand what we do so that we're not just talking the talk. We'll show you, and once you see it and you understand it, people are very comfortable using CompuCycle.
So we encourage every prospect. We love every customer to come see our facility, but any prospect or anyone that's wondering really what would we be using CompuCycle for, come see our processes, come behind the scenes and really see what we do, because truly there is no other solution than us when it comes to being the most sustainable. We tailor solutions, so there's no cookie cutter approach. We actually tailor to every customer's needs. And another value proposition I really like about CompuCycle is owners of the company. We are very involved with our customers. Everyone has an account manager, but they also have our email, they have our cell number. Anytime there's a problem, they can give us a call, any concerns, because we take our relationships very seriously and want to take care of each and every customer and make sure that we exceed their expectations.
Yeah. We're very engaged. And really, when we talk about leadership, what makes us a leader, it's by example. Continuous improvement. We're always looking at what we can do to improve. We became the first processor in Houston. we became the first electronics plastics processor in the United States. We continuously reach for high goals so that we can make a difference in our community, make a difference in the industry. We are always learning from our clients. We work with our clients to meet their pain points. We understand what are their pain points, and then we work with them to have solutions so that we can make a difference in their lives, which makes a difference in the electronics industry as a whole.
And our job is to make their life easier. We want to see however that we can simplify their process and make it easy and seamless, and again, make them look good.
How does the e-plastics plant prevent materials from reaching landfills?
So in 2023, we opened up our e-plastics plant, and we did it for a few reasons. We were already shredding plastics, and we decided actually in 2021 we wanted to further the processing of plastics. Because we had shredded it, we would like to separate the plastics for them to be reused. In 2021, the plastics were all being shipped overseas to be processed, and we wanted to make a difference. And it was actually great timing because the plastics industry, the Basel Convention, has some rulings where plastics mixed, certain plastics mixed are under the Basel Convention, not acceptable in many countries. We had started the plants. With COVID, things were delayed. So 2023 plants open, and we now are taking the shredded plastics, we're shredding them into smaller pieces, we're separating the metals from the plastics, and then we are separating, for example, this is polystyrene plastics, this is ABS plastics. We have electrostatic devices that separate the plastics into single polymer plastics, and those plastics then can be sent anywhere in the world to compounders to manufacture new products. Domestically, for example, yes, this is a plastic tile that is made out of electronics plastics. The great news is that we can process plastics for reuse. We look at electronics, some electronics, up to 60% of electronics can be made out of plastics. And so there's a very large percentage of plastics which in the past was not being potentially recycled. Today, we can recycle the plastics, and it's very, very unique because we are one of the very few, and in Texas, we are the only electronics processing facility that can separate plastics. In the United States, we are one of the only electronics certified processors that can separate the ABS and the PS plastics. So it is, again, the key differentiator. It makes us a leader in the industry. We're very proud of the ability to process plastics and to adhere to the Basel Convention. To one of the reasons why we are E-Steward certified, because we can do that. And then both E-Stewards and R2 certified, R2 V3 have agreed that they will follow the Basel Convention. Thereby, electronics recycling companies must have a solution for the plastics. Unfortunately, domestically, the solutions are very, very limited. So a lot of the plastics are being landfilled. But if you use CompuCycle, they're not being landfilled. So with us, we can process them for reuse to be manufactured into other products.
How does that impact the environment?
Oh, it's massive. So unfortunately, domestically, the solution, it impacts the environment in many ways. We're not landfilling this, and it's been reused. And right now, there are not very many solutions for plastics domestically. So, if you are unable to process plastics, it either needs to be landfilled or incinerated. And for most corporate clients and manufacturers, that is not a sustainable solution. No electronics should be going into the landfill. They're not biodegradable. They have many harmful toxins inside of them. And it just makes absolute no sense putting electronics into landfills. Certainly the waste companies love it going into landfill because it's weight. But from an environmental standpoint and from a sustainable standpoint, and now from a proven standpoint, when you have processors that can process electronics, and we always looking for additional volume of material to process, there's no need to landfills.
It is about 70% of electronics that is still being landfilled. So we need to do better. And CompuCycle can get us there.
Is there any limit to the volume that you can accept at the CompuCycle facility?
So we can process, in one shift, we can process up to 60,000 pounds of material per day. So in 2 shifts, we could process 90,000 pounds of electronics a day. So we're talking about many millions of pounds of electronics that we can handle.
One thing that truly is that there is no reason why a company should not be using CompuCycle because of these reasons, and because of there is no other sustainable solution like CompuCycle, especially now with having this plastics plant. So it's so important for corporations to realize that they really have a problem that they didn't even know that they had by not using CompuCycle, because they're using those multiple downstreams. They're using plastics are not being processed to their capabilities. So when you're using CompuCycle, it truly is the ideal and the correct responsible solution. And CompuCycle needs to be who a corporation uses.
We talk about cybersecurity. When you're getting rid of devices, and cybersecurity is such a threat, we know from past experiences. Look at Morgan Stanley. They had a $60 million fine for breach. When you're getting rid of your equipment, where's it going? How's it being processed? How can you ensure that it's being handled correctly? What is happening to my material? That's Kelly's mentioning. We provide that secure chain of custody. We spoke about everything is being handled by CompuCycle. We are an incredible partner when it comes to handling your data, cybersecurity, any risks that you may have from a security standpoint. We do that. And Kelly mentions, why would you not be using us?
Mm-hmm.
If you understand what we're doing and we're inviting you to come see our process and we're offering to partner with you to solve your solutions, if anything, you can compare what we do to what you're doing, and you can see the gaps and see how we actually close all those gaps, and we provide you a full.
And we really are like the full circle of a cybersecurity plan. Companies put millions of dollars into their cybersecurity, and what is it going to mean when that material is found in a landfill or overseas at the end of the day? So CompuCycle really is the last piece of the puzzle to have a successful cybersecurity plan.
Tell me some of the corporate risks that corporations could experience if their items were found in a landfill or overseas.
The biggest concern is the data breach, data security.
Yeah, data breach, but also if you have assets that are being shipped overseas and your company logo is on those assets, it's the corporate, it's your image. And unfortunately, in today's world, there are hackers and there are people that are wanting to cause grief. So we can prevent that.
But I think, like you said, once again, it's the not understanding the process. And that's where the education piece comes in so much. And even like going back to the cybersecurity, that just this last year, the SEC, for any public company, they actually have to report if there is any type of breach, landfill of any of their material. So that makes it even more important to use a company like CompuCycle, because you do not want to be put in that position as a corporate public company. Yeah. And again, like there is no intention, but they just don't understand the process. And it is so important to be certified. And we are so proud to be dual certified, but being certified isn't enough. Certified companies have to use certified downstreams. The problem is certified downstreams, because there's so many of them, don't always do what they say they're going to do. So that's why it's so important to be that recycler and processor.
Yeah, and I, when we talk about it all remains with CompuCycle, just to give you an example, putting in layman terms, we have a cell phone. So here's a cell phone. It has all your data. It's got a beautiful picture of Kelly now, but it has all your data on the cell phone, and you can prevent the data if you have an Apple, an Apple phone. It can be iCloud blocked. But corporations have cell phones. They send the cell phones to be recycled. What happens when you cannot turn on the phone? So I can't power on the phone. I can't destroy the data because I can't turn it on. Now this happens. Tablets, we're talking about iPads, Microsoft Surface Pros that have the hard drive embedded inside the unit, where you can't just unscrew it and take it out. So what happens to these devices when you can't power them on? You can't destroy the data. So most certified electronics companies may send that to a certified downstream. So you've now taken your corporate client's assets, you can't process it, so you're sending that to another certified facility to process it, and you're relying on that certified facility to handle your corporate client's data. It can be compromised, and we have many cases where it has been compromised. So how do you prevent that? Well, that's where we come into play. Nothing that comes into CompuCycle is sent to other processes. If we cannot wipe it, we have the ability to open these devices, to remove the batteries, and then to shred the devices. And that's what we do. There are other certified companies that will talk about where we can shred your devices. They have small hard drive shredders that you can put a hard drive in there to shred the hard drive. Most circumstances, those hard drive shredders are not going to meet the corporate client's requirements. So if it's 22 millimeters, it's not going to meet those requirements. And you'll be amazed how many certified electronics companies don't even have hard drive shredders. They have a device that's going to bend your drive, okay, and they use that as data destruction. CompuCycle, it's a whole different experience.